For decades, he lived on in oral histories, songs, stories, and whispered recollections of a chieftain who refused to kneel. In 1982, the Sri Lankan state formally recognized him as a national hero. This is Truth Frame episode 56. Pandara Vanniyan, the last flame of the Vanni. The land between kingdoms. For nearly 1,000 years, the forests of northern Sri Lanka held a secret. A land between kingdoms. A land that answered to no throne. A land called the Vanni. Here, in the dry plains stretching from Mannar to Trincomalee, from Vanniyan to Polonnaruwa, lived a people who refused to be ruled. Their leaders were not kings, but Vanniyars, chieftains who guarded their forests, their cattle, their temples, and their freedom. This is the story of that land. And of the last man who stood for it. The birth of the Vanni, 13th to 16th centuries. The Vanni chieftaincies were born in the ashes of a fallen kingdom. In the 13th century, when Polonnaruwa collapsed under foreign invasion, nobles, warriors, and clans fled into the forests. There, they built a new order, one that owed tribute to powerful neighbors but kept its own autonomy. For centuries, the Vanni served as a buffer zone between the Tamil north and the Sinhala south. 7 great Vanni regions emerged, each ruled by a Vanniyan or Vanniyachi. They were proud, warlike, and fiercely independent. They intermarried with Tamil Vellalars in the north and Kandyan Sinhalese in the south, weaving a complex tapestry of identity and allegiance. The Age of Empire, 16th to 18th centuries. Then came the Europeans. First the Portuguese in 1505. Then the Dutch in 1658. Both sought control. Both failed to fully conquer the Vanni. The Dutch found the Vanni chieftains so defiant that, by the late 1700s, they admitted nothing could be done without the chief's approval. They even imprisoned a female Vanni ruler, Maria Sembati, when tribute was refused. But the Vanni spirit did not break. The rise of Pandara Vanniyan, around 1775 to 1785. Around 1775, in this land of resistance, a child was born. His name, Kulasegaram Varmuthu Kumara. History would remember him as Pandara Vanniyan. He came from a lineage of Vanni chieftains. His siblings, Nalanakal Vanniyan, Kailaya Vanniyan, and Periyam Mainar, formed his inner circle. Through marriage into the Nawara chieftain family, he united northern and southern Vanni clans, strengthening his political reach. By 1785, he rose to leadership. He ruled from Kumula Munai in Mullaitivu, a stronghold deep in the forest. The British arrive, 1796. In 1796, the Dutch fell. The British took control of coastal Sri Lanka. And with them came a new kind of empire, centralized, relentless, and determined to crush local autonomy. The Vanni was no longer a buffer. It was now a target. The rebellion begins, 1790s, 1803. Pandara Vanniyan refused to bow. He launched guerrilla attacks on British outposts, striking swiftly and disappearing into the forests. He disrupted supply lines. He rallied clans. He even coordinated with the Kingdom of Kandy in a rare North-South alliance against the British. British records describe him as a rebel chief. Tamil memory remembers him as the last king of Vanni. Both agree on one thing: he was a man the empire could not ignore. The fall of the Vanni, 1803. In 1803, the British launched a coordinated campaign. Columns of troops marched into the Vanni. Villages were burned. Cattle seized. Forests cleared. Pandara Vanniyan fought back with everything he had. But the British had numbers, guns, and a global empire behind them. On October 31, 1803, he was defeated by Captain von Dryburgh at Katsalai-Madu. He was mortally wounded in the ambush and died from his injuries. With his fall, the Vanni chieftaincies, after nearly 600 years of autonomy, came to an end. The legacy, 1810 to 1982. The British absorbed the Vanni into their colonial administration. But they could not erase its memory. For generations, Tamil communities kept the story alive, through songs, oral histories, and whispered tales of a chieftain who refused to kneel. The long arc of Vanni resistance, a timeline. 13th century, collapse and emergence. When the mighty kingdom of Polonnaruwa fell in the 13th century, power fractured across the island. In the vacuum, the Vanni chieftaincies emerged, local rulers who carved out semi-independent domains in the forested north and east. These Vanniyars were not kings, but guardians of land, cattle, and clan memory. 14th to 16th centuries, expansion and tribute. Over the next 3 centuries, the Vanni expanded its reach. Though nominally under the Jaffna kingdom, the Vanniyars maintained semi-autonomous rule. They paid tribute when necessary, but governed their lands with fierce independence, blending Tamil and Sinhala alliances through marriage and diplomacy. 1597 to 1658, Portuguese pressure. The arrival of the Portuguese marked the beginning of European intrusion. Though the Vanni resisted, the pressure mounted. The chieftains fought to preserve their autonomy, but the colonial tide was rising. 1658 to 1796, Dutch domination and rebellion. The Dutch replaced the Portuguese, bringing new demands for tribute and control. The Vanni chieftains resisted fiercely. Some were captured, others rebelled. The Dutch admitted that without the cooperation of the Vanniyars, little could be done. The forests remained defiant. 1782, the Vanniyar Rebellion. A major uprising erupted in 1782, signaling the Vanni's refusal to be subdued. Though the rebellion was eventually suppressed, it marked a turning point, a declaration that the Vanni would not go quietly. 1796, the British takeover. With the fall of Dutch power, the British took control of coastal Sri Lanka. Their approach was more systematic, more ruthless. They ought to centralize rule and erase local autonomy. The Vanni became a target. 1790s, 1810, Pandara Vanniyan's resistance. Into this storm rose Pandara Vanniyan. From his base in Mullaitivu, he united Vanni clans, launched guerrilla attacks, and defied British authority. His leadership marked the final chapter of Vanni independence, a last stand against empire. 1810, the death of Pandara Vanniyan. On October 31, 1810, Pandara Vanniyan was ambushed and mortally wounded. His death marked the end of Vanni rule. The forests fell silent. The British absorbed the land. But the memory remained. 1982, recognition and revival. Nearly 2 centuries later, In 1982, the Sri Lankan state formally recognized Pandara Vanniyan as a national hero. His statue in Jaffna stands as a testament to a legacy of resistance, autonomy, and unyielding spirit. The Last Flame. Pandara Vanniyan was not just a man. He was the final flame of a long tradition of independence. A tradition born in the forests. A tradition that defied empires. A tradition that lives on in memory. And memory, truthful, unbroken, and fearless, is what keeps history alive. And this was the story of Pandara Vanniyan, the last stand of the Vanni. This is TBK's Truth Frame. If you believe these stories matter, like, reflect, remember and subscribe. Your comments are most welcome. Your support fuels the next frame of truth. Thank you and keep looking for my historical videos.